Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gamon Show, Episode 6, Dreamhack Aftermath. I'm your host, Teebs. I'm joined today by Gamon Gaming's Dakraiz and Darklumiya. How's it going, guys?
What's going on?
How you doing?
This week, we'll be talking about a few news elements. Hearthwars tournament coming up this weekend. Dreamhack is a big part of what's going on in the scene right now. Our viewer topic for the week are weekly deck breakdowns featuring Mage and Priest, and a bit of meta-analysis in the wake of the tournament this past weekend, and we'll be wrapping up with our shoutouts. So let's get straight into it. We're going to start by doing a little shout-out to the Hearthwars tournament coming up this weekend, and tell you guys about what this is exactly. So you can see here on the image, it's a relatively small tournament compared to most of what you've probably seen so far. More on the lines online with the Arena tournament a couple weeks ago. So it's a 16-player tournament, and basically how this one's working is they've invited 7 teams in the first round, and then 2 players from the tournament scenes and from ladders. And basically, each team plays off individually, so you get 2 players from each team, but they play, obviously it's a single-player game. And then the top 3 teams advance to the next event, which will be the following month. So there's going to be a Hearthwars event every month, and the top 3 teams stay in. So the first lineup here has been announced. They haven't announced their individual player guests yet, but this will be streamed live on Twitch, cast by Reynad this weekend, and in the following events next month and down the road, they're going to be bringing in 4 new teams to compete, and then the top 3 stay on month after month like that. So this will be an exciting event this weekend. We will see how it goes, and look forward to the next month with some potential exciting news there. Yeah, so definitely check that out. It's this weekend, 3 p.m. Pacific, and it's on twitch.tv/Hearthwars new channel. So that's kind of a little shout out right at the start. Let's go ahead and talk about the biggest piece of news for this week, which is the Dreamhack tournament. Did you guys get a chance to watch much or all of that event?
Yeah, I watched from the semifinals on.
Yeah, I watched as much as I could. I caught like a decent amount of day 1, but like only early in the day. But then I pretty much watched the whole thing on day 2. Or was it 3 days?
I think it was 2, right? Saturday, Sunday? Or am I wrong?
Yeah.
Was it Friday? Not sure.
I'm not sure. But whatever
3
the
days.
semifinals
3
and
days.
finals were, that whole day I watched that whole thing pretty much. So I caught a good amount.
Yeah, the matches yesterday were just absolutely insane. Lots of exciting stuff going on. What did you guys notice, kind of on the whole, from the tournament? That was anything exciting that you picked out?
Druid and Miracle Rogue, which is pretty much to be expected. Druid is just very consistent and pretty much like doesn't have a bad matchup, doesn't have like amazing matchup, just good against everything. And then Miracle Rogue is probably just like a lot of times you don't have a number 1 deck in the game, but it's definitely the number 1 deck right now.
Yeah,
I found it interesting that I believe there's only 1 warrior, and that was Reynad. So there was no control warrior, and Reynad used a version of the Life Coach Pirate. I don't know if he would be angry at calling it Life Coach Pirate, because I think he also made his own aggro deck back in the day, but like he used Night Blades and a bunch of random stuff. I didn't really like the build that much, but like I understand the concept of why he chose it. Like I think it was smart. I think if he just didn't misplay, he might have been able to take the match. But
yeah,
that was pretty interesting to see.
Some exciting games out of him. So pretty representative of what's going on ladder right now, in terms of no control warrior, lots of druid, a few other. Interestingly enough, some underdog classes made it quite far in the event. We'll talk about that a little more later on as to how it pertains to the ladder over the next couple weeks and what to expect in the aftermath. But one of the important questions on a lot of people's mind is what happened in the final round. A lot of drama going on there. Did you guys watch that match and see how that all unfolded?
Yeah.
Okay, so both of you guys saw it live. We'll go over all of the events. I've compiled lots of images here for the viewers. So let's talk about this as it unfolded. So here the first one is, this is a screenshot, and this is the event that started everything. This is in the second game of the grand finals, which was best of 3. RDU was up 1-0 at this point, and he was in a fairly commanding position against Amaz, who was on Hunter. So RDU here is playing the Mage. He's got an ice block down, and he got a tell from one of his friends, or one of the people on his friends list, who presumably was in the audience, and this message kind of told him the contents of Amaz's hand circa 30 seconds earlier, which, as far as we know, was roughly the stream delay at the event.
Actually, if you don't mind me interjecting, I believe there wasn't a delay. Like, the delay was like kind of at max, like a Twitch delay, like a 10 to 15 second delay, like, and that's one of the things that people were up in arms about.
I said 30 seconds. So anyway, something in that range. It wasn't actually delayed for the purpose of delaying it, but whatever the natural kind of delay time on, you know, the technology is. Okay, so yeah, basically this information was, you know, somewhere in the realm of 10 to 30 seconds old. So it was very relevant to the game at hand. And basically what happened at this point was that RDU kind of was visibly, I don't know how you would describe it, but you could tell he reacted to this information. And as soon as the game was over, he called one of the judges to talk about it. And basically what happened here was he was told that, well, he found out through this information that there was no flare in Amaz's hand, which led him Alexstrasza, and was a pretty big deal. Now, I don't know, in the end, the Dreamhack admins ruled that there was no, you know, bearing on the game, and that they ruled that there was no replay necessary. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that was a fair ruling? Or
I think it's bullshit.
Yeah. Do you mind if I talk about the play also?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because, alright, so I believe Amaz was at how much health? Like 20-something? He was high. Like maybe even like 28. I can't remember exactly.
It's on the screen, right? Yeah.
Well, he Alexed his face on the screen already. Actually, if you watch the video, the message comes in like as he's like about to play Alexstrasza. But there are arguments that are being made whether if he knew that there was a flare, he should Alexstrasza himself. Like, obviously, because you're going to die the next turn. But, like, his only chance of winning, really, is to Alex his face. And Amaz could have played the flare the turn before, I believe. I don't remember exactly, but I think Amaz could have hero powered, but he didn't hero power because he was already triggered the ice block. So he would have had to
well, going off the screenshot here, the hero power is already done, right? It's flipped over?
Yeah.
I don't think
he could have attacked with the bow, because the bow has 2 durability. I think that's what it was. Or no, actually...
Wait, here's the main issue overall, though, is his only chance to win wasn't to Alexstrasza Amaz's face, because if he Alexstrazas himself, he goes to 15...
with the ice block still up.
With the ice block, Amaz has, what, a bow and 1 card in hand?
Yeah, which he now knows is the Hunter's Mark.
So Alexstrasza himself, what are the chances that Amaz then draws into the perfect... It would need like 3 turns, which would give plenty of time for whatever the hell is the RDU to finish the game. So, I mean, the timing is very important as to when he saw the message and, you know, is he going to make the choice to then Alexstrasza Amaz or himself? I think that at the least you have to replay that match. I mean, sure, like it may not. You're never really gonna know if it affected the match or not. There's no definite way to tell. But that's still his responsibility to make. Like if you know that you have immature people on your friends list, if quote unquote he's innocent, then that's your responsibility to like take care of that beforehand so that you don't run into that situation. I think that Amaz should have at least gotten a rematch, and especially because he wasn't told anything throughout the entire process.
Yeah, that was the next.
Like, are you kidding me? Like,
that was pretty crazy. So, Amaz made a vlog talking about just that, and in the vlog he basically said that there was, something on the order of 15 to 20 minutes downtime between Game 2 and Game 3, and in this time, the admins at Dreamhack had RDU remove every single person off of his friends list.
Which
the exception, yeah, there were a few people left on there who he had played earlier in the tournament, who he kept in. They were all offline, and then he actually went on screen and removed them during Game 3, so it was only Amaz. And Amaz, during this time, didn't know really what was going on at all. He was just kind of sitting there waiting around, and he hadn't been informed of any of this happening, which is a little strange from the tournament organizers. But that aside, and whether or not we feel, as spectators in this event, what the correct kind of admin decision was, they ruled that it was unnecessary to replay the game because it had already been determined. So that was where we are at this point, just after this Game 2 match. And the event concluded, in the end, if it was a regame, it would have had potentially, big implications on the outcome of the series. But it went forward as it did. We can't fault RDU for that at all. It's, at this point, the tournament organizers made their decision. We have to move forward with that.
What do you mean you can't fault him at all, though? I mean, he's the reason that the situation occurs. So, he still has some fault no matter what the outcome of the... no matter how unprofessional the tournament organizers were at that point, it's still partially his fault, whether he's innocent or guilty, just for having those people on his friends list. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. So, I guess my point is that we can't blame RDU and purely put this on RDU because there's a lot of this has to do with the fact that in the tournament, organizers kind of set up for the event. They need to take this into account. And in future, if there's nothing implemented, they need to have everybody remove all their friends in advance of this so that this doesn't happen again. Because at the end of the day, this is not a unique... Well, I guess in fact this is a unique thing to a card game because this is one of the first, digital card game tournaments. And this is a new this is the first time this has happened on a big scale or on a notable scale within the Hearthstone scene. So
also, I'm sorry, you want to keep going?
No, go ahead.
Also, it is pretty big on the, I don't know if it's on Viagame or if it's on the tournament organizers or a combination of both, but if there was a sufficient delay, this also would have never happened.
That's what I'm saying. Why wasn't there a sufficient delay?
People still get messages like, oh, good luck, you see that all the time, but it's always a 5-minute delay, so it's never a problem. If they tell you what the person has, it's Blizzard. It's on Blizzard too. Put in a do not disturb function. I don't understand, or an appear offline. It's mind blowing to me. And I hope that this was on a big enough stage. And Blizzard was definitely watching this tournament. And I think it's a huge wake up call to them that if you want this to be a competitive scene, you need to remove that.
Yeah, this needs to be addressed going forward.
If you're busy in game, you still get chat bubbles, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's go ahead and look at the rest of what unfolded yesterday after round 3 was played out. So this was a little bit crazy in and of itself. So this first screenshot that we've shown here is during Game 2. This was the very notable, definite. He was given information by some guy in his friends list. It's impossible to tell if it was premeditated or any of these things. We can only speculate on that. So given that we can only speculate on that, the general consensus amongst the people who were there at Dreamhack was that you have to give RDU the benefit of the doubt that it was just some goon on his friends list who thought it would be funny, and that's kind of the publicized opinion. What unfolded, especially on Reddit over the next several hours, was this next screenshot, which was this is from game. Okay, this is from earlier in that same game, right? And it didn't get noticed at the time. It wasn't addressed by the tournament officials on the spot or anything. But this kind of came out on Reddit afterwards. And you can see here there's two messages that appeared at the exact same time. immediately after Amaz drew Leroy Jenkins. And both messages say, "Hello, Mom." So people put this together that "Hello, Mom" was some kind of a code for Leroy appearing. And again, these messages occurred roughly, the natural delay of the stream going to the audience after Amaz had Leroy. Do you guys hear about this? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Yeah, I don't. It could be one of two things. It could be that these kids are just idiots saying like, "Hey, Mom, I'm on TV," kind of crap. Or it could be that they were trying to hint at him something. Also, I heard that it was questionable if it was Hunter's Mark because, "Hi, Mom, Hunter's Mark." I don't know. It's very conspiracy theory-ish, but it is sketchy. I don't really think that he was involved, but I don't know. You know what I mean? There's no proof that he wasn't involved, so you kind of have a little bit of a doubt hung over him. And I think there was also another, I don't know if you have the screenshot, but there was another time where they said, "Hello, Mom," and I think there was a Hunter's Mark in that hand or something. I forget.
I think he had drawn the Leroy again.
Yeah, so this next one, this is kind of... People say that this screenshot is somewhat validating because both messages came through at the same moment. So the theory is that people were triggering, via a certain card draw that they would send this message. The official theory of kind of the people involved in casting and organizing the tournament is that these were people who just wanted to send a message, and there were two friends who sent it at the same time or whatever. Which is, at the end of the day, again, we don't have any hard proof either way, so you have to give RDU the benefit of the doubt in these types of situations. The third one that people have used to further kind of explain this and give credit to that Leroy Jenkins theory. This is from the earlier round in the semifinals against Reynad, and he had just drawn Leroy Jenkins the turn before, and the message sent here was, "I believe in you, honey," which people say is something that their mother would say, and therefore this is the same "Hello, Mom" code.
This is really funny.
In a slightly different format, which somehow validates the second one. So, I mean... The further you go away from the main actual incident, the more kind of crazy the connections start to become to draw some sort of theory out of this. The first screenshot, obviously, the cards are directly named. This is a very clear incident of, somebody on the friends list sending messages, and this is a problem that needs to be addressed. As we get further away from that, though, it starts to seem a little bit crazy. But the reason that a lot of this is notable... we've got a fourth slide here. So Artosis put a Reddit post up defending RDU and kind of giving his take on all this. Did you guys catch this at all?
Yeah. He actually wrote another article. I don't know if you saw it on, I think, iHeartView, and it was much more level-headed, and it was pretty... It was legitimate.
So we'll have to link that one afterwards as well. But basically, Artosis put up an article on Reddit, r/Hearthstone, saying, we don't know what happened exactly. RDU had some guy on his friends list who was being a bit of an idiot, sent a message, that we need to change kind of the formatting of the events, or Blizzard needs to make a change so that this doesn't happen in the future. But stop hating on RDU. It's not his fault. He's a victim in this. And goes on. And it was, the tone was very, like, everyone else who's posting any kind of opinion or, theories on this is wrong. Yeah, and just aggressive. Very blatantly, like...
But does that surprise you? It's Artosis. Like, come on. Like...
No, I mean, the tone of his post doesn't surprise me at all. You guys can see that for yourself. It'll be up there in the mega thread still. The reason that this is notable, though, and that I've included this tweet in particular, is that just minutes after he made his post on Reddit, all of the posts pertaining to this event in the finals between RDU and Amaz were deleted and moved into a mega thread because they were spamming the subreddit. The entire first page was full of these posts, and it was just getting out of hand. So the mods in the Hearthstone subreddit deleted all the posts and moved them all into a mega thread. Artosis noticed that his post was deleted, but failed to notice that it was moved to a mega thread. He thought it was just purged. So he went crazy on Twitter, and all of his friends defended him, and he posted this, saying, Hearthstone Reddit removes the only reasonable posts on the Dreamhack stuff. Disgusting. Which further shows that, his tone was very kind of, I'm right, you guys are wrong, and I'm not willing to listen to anything else. And he just posted this immediately before doing, any kind of research. And this, he got a lot of heat for this on Reddit as well. But basically, yeah, he didn't, he didn't take his time, and he basically just immediately bashed on everybody.
He's essentially a hypocrite. It's like, oh, don't judge RDU. Like, you don't know. Like, he's a victim, and then he's so quick to be like, oh, well, they did this, so like, my opinion is the only one that's right. It's just it's very ironic and funny.
Yeah, he bugged out a little bit. His article was actually good that I think he posted this morning with a little bit less aggressive tone.
Okay. So he's calmed down, I guess, over a night's sleep, and this is all kind of settled down a little bit. So at the end of the day, I mean, what do we take away from this? Really, I mean, the issue here is that this shouldn't have been able to happen at all in the first place. It all came about because of chat not being disabled during a tournament. Whether it was intentional, whether it was accidental, there's no way of knowing 100% for sure. I hold that we have to give RDU the benefit of the doubt because, there's really no way to tell. And at the end of the day, yes, it's probably just some idiots on his friends list trying to be noted on the stream, trying to get their name up there. Regardless, we can't do anything about it now. So what do you guys think Blizzard can do or the tournament organizers can do to make sure that something like this doesn't happen in the future?
Do not disturb, appear offline, make a stream delay. Those three things, or two, because two of them are essentially the same. Those things just need to be happening at all times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Couldn't agree more.
So, I mean, it's easy for Blizzard to implement something like this. This is something that's been asked for quite a while.
Although,
all of Battle.net.
Yeah, did you see someone dig up an old Blizzard post from like over 2 years ago saying that this feature was coming?
Soon, TM, yeah.
Soon, 2 years ago. I think,
Classic.
Actually, I didn't see any proof of this, but people are saying that they publicly said that based off of a poll, people said that if they're friends, they would play their Blizzard games less if they knew that like half of their friends list were appearing offline to avoid them, which is it's just so ridiculous. They just need to implement it.
So, regardless of whether an appear offline was the answer, or if it's something along the lines of a do not disturb button, or a tournament mode, or something like that, where you can, just prevent any kind of chat toasts or arena pop-ups or any outside information from making its way onto the screen is definitely the ideal fix from Blizzard. Short of that, RDU in the end was told to remove all of his friends from his friends list. Going forth, do you think that's something that we're going to see in big events like this until we have a fix like that?
You can't. If that's your stipulation, then it's like not getting to the root of the problem at all. It's like you can't ask people to delete their friends. I mean, some people might not have any friends, and they really want their Hearthstone friends. So I don't think you can ask that to people.
Stream, it won't be a real problem. So I think that's the temporary fix. If they wanted live,
fix the thing, like
yeah,
I don't understand.
A D&D or tournament mode just because it's more professional to not see like, oh, someone went 8-3 in an arena like during the middle of a huge tournament being broadcasted. But I think definitely stream delay would at least make the competitive answer.
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. Things that appear in other esports events, specifically StarCraft, is one of the most notable for being exceptionally professional. They've got the soundproof booths and everything's done extremely well there, and there's no chance for any of this kind of stuff to happen. So I believe
that they have a D&D or something of the matter.
Yeah. So kind of emulating that makes a lot of sense. Well, I think in StarCraft actually they've got a tournament client.
So yeah, okay.
So
something
it's
along
not
those
even an issue at all there. Which, you know, that's potentially another option for Hearthstone, is releasing a tournament client for these types of events where that, you know, you don't have to tell people to delete the people from their friends list because that won't be an issue. They're just, you know, they name the account, create it, and play the matches there without any of, you know, outside information possible. So, you know, there's potential there as well. Anyways, lots of drama, lots of people going crazy, kind of making a fool of themselves, you know, not just putting this on Artosis, but, you know, tons of people overreacting all over the place on both sides, and a lot of drama at the end of the event. So I wanted to talk about that and go into the full detail because a lot of people were confused and didn't see all the details, and I spent quite a bit of time kind of cataloging all of this for you guys yesterday so that I could, you know, give you the full story on the show today. But what's important here is that we, despite spending so much time talking about this, that we try not to let this be the sole focus of what happened at the tournament. Because, unfortunately, this was right at the end in the last round, and a lot of people, this is going to stick in their heads. But aside from this event, everything else in the tournament went very, very smoothly. And, in fact, we had just an amazing tournament over the course of 3 days this past weekend. Let's take a little bit of time now to talk about some of the decks that we saw. Specifically, the decks that we have lined up this week are Ardiu's Mage deck, which served him quite well over the course of the tournament. Interestingly enough, I don't think this deck was what really carried him through the early stages, right? He was playing almost exclusively as Rogue.
He only won one game with it, I believe.
Yeah.
I think he either went like 1-5 with it or 0-5, he said, and then he swept the finals, which was pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the finals sweep should have never happened. I mean, Amaz just didn't play.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Perfect, and because I really think he should have just led with Hunter and mulliganed aggressively for his flare and then wins the game. But
he actually should have won all 3 games based off of the Druid is a pretty favorable matchup, and he did mistake leaving the Doomsayer alive. I think he might have won.
He didn't kill it. Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. I don't know what the.
And then the Hunter, he didn't draw the flare, and then the Priest, RDU just like magically had all the burn in his hand, and Amaz had the healing, but just fell like one heal too short.
One turn. It was one turn. That's all he needed.
So at this point, though, I mean, Amaz is obviously an exceptional player. Do you think that is partly pressure and nerves at a big event like that, or do you think it is on some levels this deck is still unorthodox enough that people just aren't used to playing against it?
Well, Hunter, first off, I mean, he didn't mulligan right for the matchup, and that's why he lost. If he mulligans differently, he might win. I mean, you don't know, but he would have given himself a much better chance to win that game. Yeah. I don't think it was pressure so much as just lack of experience with the deck.
Okay. With Amaz with the Hunter, or specifically playing against Freeze Mage?
With the Hunter, I mean, I think everybody's played against Freeze Mage enough now to know how to beat it and know like what it can do. So like, I don't think he was like surprised at all by anything the Freeze Mage could do.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's talk about this deck a little bit more in particular then. Vaporize is, I wouldn't say necessarily a new card or a new concept in this type of deck, but it's definitely, this is one of the first times that it's been really, shown itself, and there's a few. I mean, this deck, as far as Freeze Mage goes, this is fairly standard.
I'd
say extremely standard. I mean, everybody even plays that one Vaporize.
He took this deck from Otter, who popularized it last season when I think he got number 12 NA. And the noticeable changes I see are Otter runs 2 Ice Barrier and no Vaporize, and I think the reason especially why he ran the Vaporize is because I could tell based off RDU's deck choices that he really thought a lot into he prepared exceptionally well. He had Shaman, which counters Druid, which there were Druids everywhere, but he actually didn't use the Shaman that often. He had Miracle Rogue, which is just the best deck in the game right now. And then he had Freeze Mage to counter Miracle Rogue, which he knew appropriately that everybody would be running. So definitely shout out to really smart deck planning. And I think the Vaporize is a tech card specifically against Miracle Rogue. It also helps against Druid, because Druid typically has beefy minions, and it doesn't have any small minions to take the hit on Vaporize. And he ran 2 Flame Strikes also, which I think also helps in the Druid matchup. So I think this was a really smartly fine-tuned meta Freeze Mage, just the minor changes.
It's +1 Flame Strike over the old Freeze Mage as well, right? They were only running one previously?
It's interesting that he runs a Loot Hoarder, because Otter switched to Novice Engineer, which they both have their pros and cons. I guess if you're going to run a one-of, the Loot Hoarder kind of makes sense to push in a little damage and kind of be a little bit more annoying, but then the Novice Engineer is a good card to just drop to cycle later in the game, so it's interesting choices.
One of the perks to Novice as well is it's a better top deck in the late game, because you can draw your card out of it immediately.
Well, yeah, it can't be silenced like Loot Hoarder.
Yeah, exactly.
Or even if nothing else, I mean, you don't have to wait or spend a ping to cycle the card out. You can just use it immediately.
One interesting thing to note is there was one turn where he dropped his Loot Hoarder to bait out a silence from Keeper of the Grove. So maybe that was something that he thought about. I don't know if that was a premeditated plan, but he definitely mentioned, and the casters noted that he purposely tried to bait it before he Doomsayered the following turn, and it worked in his favor. So maybe that's an added benefit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that was his ultimate idea, but it definitely played in his favor.
Presents some unique mind games for sure.
Right.
Trying to stop the draw. Interesting. Okay, so definitely some smart tech picks here went into this, and it seems ultimately it was very successful, particularly in the finals. Do you think this deck is going to be kind of the new standard for Freeze Mage, or do you think like this will pretty much last as long as Miracle Rogue is on top? It seems.
Yeah, I think there'll be some people messing with Vaporize and some people choosing for double Ice Barrier, but I think you're going to see a lot of Freeze Mage. I already heard from other people that Freeze Mage is all over like ranks 1 to like 10.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'm putting the second flare back in my deck, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's flip over here and talk about Amaz Priest deck. So, another interesting list. A couple tech picks in here, particularly for this meta, or more so for this tournament, namely the Harrison Jones. Would you guys feel that this deck is more or less standard for Priest? I mean, it feels weird to say that there is a standard Priest deck because it's so underrepresented, but the core is all here.
Well, I mean, I'm no Priest expert or anything, but I wouldn't say it's going to be like the standard. Like, it's clearly a tournament deck, so like he made it for the tournament specifically to counter certain things. On ladder, you're going to see tons of different variants of Priest, but I mean, Amaz is usually the one that's net decked the most just because he's famous for it. So
yeah, the Mind Blast has been not uncommon, but the Harrison Jones is really the only card that is kind of new ground in this.
Yeah, I think Harrison specifically was included for this tournament. He might run it on ladder ever so often, but I think he kind of knows he's going to lose Miracle Rogue with Harrison the majority of the time anyway, so he doesn't run it too often.
Yeah.
I'm not positive, though.
There was that game against Reels. God. Just absolutely insane. It was on the curve, right? That top deck?
Yeah, it was on 5.
Yeah, I think so.
So Reels
just
crushed. You can
that was unreal. That was unreal. Some of those that series, Reels just really faced inner RNG god that Amaz is, between the Thoughtsteal, Mountain Giants. It was funny, Dark Wanix was like, he's gonna Thoughtsteal a Mountain Giant and be able to play it right now. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Definitely some insane games there.
It was
with this deck.
Very entertaining. That's a series to remember.
If you watch Amaz's stream at all, I mean, the casters talked about it as well during the tournament, but after watching his stream, none of those RNG plays were out of the ordinary for Amaz. Like,
he's known for the rag snipe.
Yeah.
Was anyone surprised that the rag hit the perfect target 3 turns in a row in that match against RDU?
And he still lost.
I know, crazy.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit then about what makes this deck unique, why he picked a couple of the tech cards for this tournament, and what we expect to see adapted onto ladder. I mean, we already talked about Harrison a little bit. It's definitely good in this Miracle Rogue format, but still a situational card, even in that matchup, where I think it's probably the strongest. Good against Shaman as well, though. I mean, you guys
It
think
has to be
Shaman's...
played. It's just strong, like, because you have Miracle Rogue, you have the random control warrior, you have the aggro warrior, you have Hunter, you have Shaman. I mean, out of the majority of the decks, it's going to be live, and worst case, it's just a 5/4. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
not
I
a
feel like
bad
you have to
choice.
run it. It's such a big card. Like, if you play it, you're probably going to win. So you might as well take that risk and put it in the deck. I mean, what else? What did you replace it with? Like, what's going to be better than that?
Well, I was just going to
I don't see
ask,
anything.
what do you guys think about Swampoos instead of Harrison? Doesn't fit the curve as well, or doesn't create enough of a swing, or...
I just think Harrison. You could take this one.
Yeah, it's just the swing. It's huge.
Yeah.
Like Swampoos isn't that. It isn't as powerful, and it also really doesn't fit the curve as well. So I think Harrison is definitely is the better choice.
Okay.
And
then,
like a lot of decks, it's just like a 3/2. You'd rather have a 5/4 for 5 than a 3/2 for 2 in like a mid-rangey or control deck. Like majority of the time, it's kind of out of place in Priest, I think.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And then what about the Mind Blast? That's the only other card that... I mean, it's been gaining popularity, I guess, over the last little while, especially with that Prophet Velen Priest deck where they go... What is it? Velen, Mind Blast, Holy Smite on turn 10 as a 14
Yeah,
damage,
it's insane.
10 mana combo. But I mean, obviously this deck's not running Velen. What do you guys think? It just gives it a little bit more range, I guess?
Oh yeah, it gives it range, and it's also an extra card that you can use in combination with Wild Pyro. I mean,
Yeah, I was about to say that.
it's not really expected, so I mean, your opponent could be thinking, "Oh, he's already used 2 Holy Fires, like I'm safe," and then bam, Mind Blast. So, I mean, I like it a lot in this deck.
It's good against Handlock and Miracle Rogue, which is pretty popular on ladder, so I think it's a good choice.
Yeah, definitely. This is a card, I mean, it's been popping up here and there in the Priest decks, you know, specifically in the Velen, but a little bit in other decks. Do you think it's going to become something of a staple after appearing in this tournament?
Yeah, I think it's already heading that way, kind of, for this meta, at least.
Yeah, it's like you said with the meta. I mean, if Handlock and Miracle Rogue continue to, you know, be popular and remain at the top, which I don't see any reason why they wouldn't be, at least until, you know, after next Ramus when everything could change. But yeah, I think for now it's a staple. At least one.
All right. Well, those are the 2 decks from the finals. Deck lists haven't been officially posted yet. The RDU deck has been extensively analyzed. The Amaz deck was a little bit more difficult. The casters at one point mentioned that he hadn't drawn a Senjin Shieldmaster and that it was potentially in the last 3 cards of the deck. But on reviewing the VODs, Senjin Shieldmaster, as far as I could tell, didn't appear anywhere in the entire tournament. So for that reason, we've put Amaz on running 2 Azure Drakes. The casters may or may not have had the info correct, but this deck may have been 1 Azure Drake, 1 Senjin. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there as a disclaimer because this list isn't, you know, the Dreamhack lists haven't been officially published. All the other cards in here, though, are confirmed by watching the VODs, and the RDU deck has been confirmed as well and is very much more well-known in advance. Okay, so let's move on a little bit and talk about the new Naxx Ramus cards that are coming out, transitioning from our Priest discussion to the Priest card for this week, which we have on screen, and it's the Dark Cultist. Have you guys had a chance to take a look at this card?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think? Dakraiz?
I think it's exceptionally strong. Like, I mean, the problem is you might not get the Death Rattle, but even without the Death Rattle, it's like the best 3-drop in the game. I'd rather have a 3/4 than a 4/3. You could argue that Injured Blade Master has the Circle of Healing and other possibilities with it, but I don't know. I'm not as big of a fan of Injured Blade Master as most people because it kind of hurts to use the 2 cards to get 1 good card.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for it. I think it can kind of open up possibilities for almost like a Tempo Priest in a way, like a mid-range, like more of a Druid type of deck rather than like a really hard control deck.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's interesting, and I think it has a place in the hard control decks too because it's just a really good 3-drop. It's going to be a good anti-aggro 3-drop because it should be able to 2-for-1. It's like a Yeti for 3, kind of.
Mm-hmm. It just fits earlier in the curves.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really strong card. I mean, you compare it to like a Harvest Golem, and it's just like completely broken. And we still don't even know what other cards that are going to come out to like, you know, work in combination with it. So I think it's going to give Priest a much needed boost. It remains to be seen whether or not that boost will be enough to put it back, not even back because it's never been at the top, but at least put it into the top decks in ladder play at least. You know, in tournament play, Priest has always been, you know, somewhat of a strong choice just because, as Amaz said, most people don't know how to play against it. And, you know, if you're very familiar with the deck, then you know how to play against those matchups. You're, like, already at an advantage before it even begins. So Absolutely. We'll see. Hopefully it does give it the boost that it needed.
Okay, so Dakraiz, you were talking about a potential new deck kind of spawned around this card, like something more aggressive and more kind of along the lines of a tempo, you know, hit all your drops. How does this play into the curve compared to the cards that are out there right now? You've got the Injured Blade Master you were talking about, and then also the Earthen Ring Farseer as the other 3-drop that's pretty much universally played in the Priest decks. Do you go up to 6 3-drop creatures, or do you cut one of those, or what?
I
what
would
do you think?
cut. I don't know exactly. I'm not a Priest expert, but I do think there's a possibility that cards like Light Warden might have some play in a Tempo Priest deck.
I've actually seen that used on ladder, Light Warden, and it beat me.
ERA is pretty good Priest player. Actually, he's a really good Priest player, I should say, and he likes to run the Light Wardens, which I think it's a card that's interesting. Like, imagine getting a Light Warden to get the +3 health buff. That would just make it a really strong card with the it's almost like an Unbound Elemental at that point. Mm-hmm. So I think it could lessen the curve, but I think in order to fit this card in and make that kind of deck, you might have to get rid of some of the combo-y cards. Like, I don't know if you can get rid of Wild Pyro just because of how amazing it synergizes with other Priest cards. But I think, like, things like, I don't know, Circle of Healing's great too, but it's going to be it's a very clogged deck. Priest has so many combos that, like, there's only room for, like, 4 cards without completely trying to make a whole new archetype. So I think a whole new archetype is going to be made.
So, okay. So, I mean, like, the Blade Master is obviously a great card in some situations, especially if you have the Circle. In other ones, though, you know, against Rogue and stuff, if you go Blade Master Circle and they just sap it, that's a pretty big swing. Card advantage and tempo-wise. So, I mean, do you think then the whole deck will just be reinvented? Like, you know, you cut the Blade Master, you cut the Circle, then is there enough to trigger Pyro anymore? It's, you know, it becomes a slippery slope.
You don't know until the cards come out, you know? Like, there's so many new things that are going to come into the game. Like, I feel like if things don't change too much, you're either going to drop the Injured Blade Circle of Healing to make room. I think it remains to be seen until we figure out, like, what other cards they have at their disposal, because there could be a bunch of other stuff that would completely change the way you're going to make a deck, and we just don't know about it yet.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
I think
it's going to be a very huge change.
Soul Priest, though, is strong enough to keep, I'd say. Regardless of whether or not you cut Circle, I think it's just strong enough to play on the curve and then have the power.
That's one of the reasons why I think Circles benefit with Wild Pyro, because, I mean, I was playing Priest today, and it's not hard at all to draw 4 cards in a turn with Wild Pyro and Circle of Healing and Northshire Cleric. Like, and that's just such a huge swing for 0 mana. It's crazy, and you can clear the board at the same time. So I think those specific combos might say, but, like, I don't know, like Thoughtsteal, does that have a place in, like, a Tempo Priest per se? it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, we'll
Probably
see.
not.
It's going to shake things up a lot compared to what we're used to now. As you guys are saying, there's not much room in this core priest for tech and specific card choices like that. So hopefully we're going to see some new interesting things with this card. One more note before we move on past this. The death rattle on this card is not like the secrets. You can trigger this on your own turn. It is random, however. So one of the plays I think that really gives credit to this kind of aggro, hitting every drop on your way through the early game. You know, say you play a turn 3 Dark Cultist, you pass your turn 4 you drop down, you know, whether it's a Soul Priest or a Yeti or whatever, and you trade the Cultist off, and now you've got a 3/8 Soul Priest or a 4/8 Yeti. So I mean, just ridiculous plays.
Yeah, it's
definitely
very disgusting.
Definitely going to be an interesting card. All right, we'll have to keep an eye on that. Further on the Naxx news, the only class left at this point to get a card shoutout or a card release is Hunter. So Dark, you gotta wait another week.
Waiting, I'm so
What do you
excited.
think it's going to be? Did you see the rumored card today?
No, I didn't. What is it?
It has to be a rumor that's false because it's crap. It was like a 4-mana weapon with like 4 attack and 3 durability, but if you don't kill a minion with it that turn, it breaks. I don't know.
Oh, that's garbage. They would never. They would never.
Yeah.
That's so bad.
It sounds absolutely terrible. Like,
I mean,
The other
I
thing
think
too,
that
that doesn't fit the timeline either, from what we've seen so far.
no.
Well, yeah, true.
It's
I don't
too
think it
far in
would-
advance of the leak.
It's gonna be some beast card because you know what they did with Unleash, and they kind of like, you know, the thing was like Hunter was. Everyone was bitching about it, but it really wasn't like that bad. Like people just were angry about getting unleashed and losing, but now people are angry that they get, you know, miracled and they lose. But they essentially like killed the. They didn't kill the deck because like I mean, you know, I took it to Legend again. People can still play the deck successfully, but like there aren't many people playing it now, so they have to give they have to give us something so that people start playing it again. Because now it's so underrepresented. There's barely anybody playing it on ladder. Like I think. When this season, like I probably played from 5 down, maybe like 4 hunters total. So, I mean, I think they have to give us something, but I don't think it's going to be like a rush-oriented card by any means. It's going to be like a beast, some type
Mid-range.
of yeah, something like that. So we'll see.
Ninja
About a little
Unleash
feigned
the
death.
Hounds revert on the nerf.
Oh,
But don't announce it.
so fun.
Oh,
Only the true Hunter players would notice. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about our meta-analysis for the week. So, I mean, the main idea here is that we've had a big tournament. Lots of people in this game and in any card game like to net deck. What do you guys think are the big takeaways from Dreamhack that are gonna, you know, flood into the ladder over the next week or two?
people are going to keep playing Druid. People are going to keep playing Miracle Rogue, and I think the biggest thing would probably see a little bit more Freeze Mage. Maybe a little bit more Priest, but Priest is hard to play, and it's not good. So.
I mean, I think it's going to stay exactly the same, except you're just going to see a shit ton of Freeze Mage. Like, a lot. And it's going to be great, because most of the people that are going to be playing it are going to have no idea how to play it properly, so it's going to be a lot of morons. Because that's not a deck that you can actually...
You can't just pick that up
start
and
winning. Yeah, no, that's
you need some in-depth guides to pick up the Freeze Mage.
Although Druid is really good against it, so it might have a little problem on ladder. Like a Druid player who knows what they're doing against Freeze Mage, rather. Like healing yourself after Alexstrasza and playing it slow.
Yeah. I mean, the Priest is weak on ladder for the same reason. I mean, Priest has never been exceptionally strong on ladder, don't get me wrong, but especially right now, I think it's interesting actually that those are the two decks that made it to the finals, because I think, you know, if they weren't popularized so much by that, you know, exposure, they would be two of the decks that would be least likely to emerge onto the ladder because they're weak to Druid. But, you know, I don't think that will be enough of a deterrent to keep people from at least testing them out, you know, given that they made such a big showing in the tournament. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that over the next week or two. Aside from that, any predictions for, you know, Druid counters or even, you know, potentially Freeze Mage counters? I've heard some people saying that, maybe Control Warrior is gonna make a bit of a showing because it's gonna capitalize on
I
people
hope
playing
not.
that Freeze Mage.
Control Warrior is one deck I can't beat. I don't know what's wrong with me.
I should just play more Hunter. I mean, Hunter is very successful
Yeah.
against the deck. So
Yeah, for sure.
we'll see.
Tack that second flare back in and do some work.
Also, I
Alright.
think Shaman with Doomhammer. If you mulligan aggressively for Doomhammer, you can beat Freeze Mage pretty easily, and Shaman is very good against Druid. So if people are looking for something, and it's decent against Miracle Rogue if you aggressively mulligan for Doomhammer also. So it's a pretty good deck right now that not many people are playing.
Alright, we'll have to keep an eye on that. See if the Shamans crouch back into the ladder. Keep an eye on the Freeze Mages, the Priests, and see if Druids can continue their dominance going forward. We're going to have a Versus Series episode coming up later tonight. Will be streamed on this channel if we can get everything sorted out. If not, it will be up tomorrow. So keep an eye on it. And we're going to be looking at the Priest versus Druid matchup. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see how it goes and if the Priests stand a chance to come back on the ladder. Let's do final round of shoutouts before we wrap this one up, guys. Dakraiz, what do you have to say?
I just wrote an article on the Shaman deck I hit Legend with like 10 days ago, but it just took me forever to write the article. But I don't think it's on the website yet, but I submitted it to the boss man, so should be up soon, so keep an eye out for that.
Alright.
Let's see. Shout out to Chris Webby, who just dropped his new mixtape today on Zapdeck.com. You should go check it out because it bangs. Secondly, I'm streaming the Legend Ladder Climb. I haven't played yet since I hit Legend, so I'm doing that directly after this. So twitch.tv/Lumi the Hunter, and shout out to the team, Gamon Gaming.
Yeah,
Gamon Gaming.
Shout that out one more time, Gamon Gaming. Thanks for helping make this show possible and continuing to support all of us. As well, I'm going to be streaming myself now on a regular schedule going forward, starting tomorrow. Every weekday from 12 to 4 Pacific, so from noon to 4 p.m. Come stop by my channel. I'll be streaming primarily Hearthstone, a little bit of Diablo on the side, and going to try and get that going on a regular basis, so check in those hours. That's twitch.tv/#1teebs. You can find a link to it on the Gamon Gaming webpage at gamongaming.com as well. From me and everyone else here at Gamon Gaming, thank you guys for checking out the show. Be sure to hit the follow button if you haven't already so that you can see when we go live, and see you guys next week at 9 Eastern, same time, with the show. Peace out, guys.
Later.